Hope you're suitably refreshed. I'm rather embarrassed to stand up here because I'm not an Olympian, I'm not a member of a crew. I am just merely a doctor. I'm a GP, so I deal with people's ailments and people's illnesses, health-related and food-related every day. I write and I appear on television, but for most of you, I'm that irritating woman who flashes up on your television screen with a willy while you're trying to eat your tea. You'll be pleased to know, by the magic of PowerPoint, there are no genitalia in these slides. In fact, due to the magic of PowerPoint, there are no images, so it's just text. So I'm going to talk to you about the good, the bad, and the ugly of food and lifestyle. Hopefully, yes. So, food. Basically, food is fuel. That's what, when we were Neanderthal man, we used food as. Unfortunately, as we've evolved, we use food for lots of other things. The girls in the audience will know there's nothing like a bit of a chocolate binge when you've been binned. The boys will bulk up on carbs if they're going to run a race. Certain foods will give us certain emotions, things that our mother cooked. Certain foods we see as punishment. So we all have a relationship with food. And unfortunately, for many of us, that is really bad. We spend on average 44 minutes every day thinking about food. That's actually far more time than we spend thinking about sex. And if we totted that up on a weekly basis, that's over 5 hours. Goodness me, if the great British public spent that 5 hours exercising, I think life would be very, very different. So we all need to look at our relationship with food, and for most of us, it isn't great. So that is one of the things, if we're going to change, we have to change that. Start as you mean to go on. How many of you eat breakfast? Ooh, surprising. The good news is for all the breakfast eaters, you're far less likely to become obese as you get older. For those of you who don't eat breakfast, it's a really, really fatal health mistake. We know that we're hardwired, if we don't eat breakfast, to seek out high-calorie, energy-dense, fatty foods, because that's the way our brains work. If we're starving, we revert to caveman mode. Because we don't know where our next meal is coming, we seek out the most calorific meal we possibly can. So don't have your breakfast, go into work, and at about 11 o'clock, what are you having? You're having a muffin, you're having something calorific. And that is one of the main reasons that we're seeing an increase in obesity. People are seeking out energy-dense foods because they are skipping breakfast. So those of you who don't eat breakfast, I would suggest you start. Getting your 5 a day. We heard here from Charlie Dark about how running sucks. I think for a lot of us, 5 a day sucks. Who gets their 5 a day? You've got some of your 5 a day tonight anyway. Not many of you. You probably, in that show of hands, is very representative of the general population. Only 1 in 5 adults in Britain get their 5 a day. Is it a big deal? I mean, what is the big deal about 5 a day? Do any of you know? Or is it just one of those things, like an apple a day keeps the doctor away? Change your pants every day? These kind of things. Is it a big deal? Yes. Why is it a big deal? That's what your body needs. But do you know what it's protecting you against or what it's doing for you? Rickets? Oh, not really. Back to biology class with you, I think. The importance of your 5 a day is that you're getting fiber, you're getting antioxidants. So fiber and antioxidants are very, very important in terms of protection against cancer, cardiovascular disease, and also diabetes. Now, you might think you're all young. Most of you aren't overweight. In fact, I think you're probably one of the slimmest audiences I've ever seen. And really, when you're in your 20s, are you really bothered about cancer? Are you really bothered about, heart disease and diabetes? The problem with missing out on your 5 a day is it will cause you problems in the future. But currently, if you're sitting there and you're not getting your quota, it can cause you problems right now. And by that, I mean things like constipation and irritable bowel syndrome. Any of you, 1 in 5 of you in this audience suffer from irritable bowel syndrome. I'm not going to ask you to show hands, but it's a really important thing. If you're not getting your 5 a day, you are much more likely to become constipated, and you are much more likely to fart. So, if you are constipated, you're much more likely to get problems in the future, and therefore it is a vital, vital, vital part of your daily requirement. Absolutely, vegetables suck, but there are lots of ways of getting them. They don't have to be fresh, they can be tinned, they can be frozen, but try and get your veggies in, and try and get your fruit in, and always try and colour block. As many different colours as you possibly can, then you're getting the best nutritional value, and ultimately you're getting the protective factors as well. Cancer, cardiovascular disease, and diabetes, amongst others. Now, fish. Who eats fish? You really are a very different audience. I think you're all plants. Fish is really, really, really important part of your diet. And most of us don't eat enough fish. Do you know how many portions of oily fish you should eat a week?
3.
Yeah, 2 or 3. Anyone give me an idea of what size a portion is? It's basically the size of a checkbook. So a portion of fish, if you can think of it, is the size of a checkbook. So you should be having 2 or 3 of those a week. Now, who knows why you should be having oily fish every week? Omega-3, you're redeeming yourself. Omega-3, indeed. What's omega-3? What's that all about? Think for your brain, yeah? Maybe you haven't had enough of it. Fiona, you're absolutely right. It's brain food, omega-3. But why do we have to take it in our diet? Do we not make it ourselves? No, absolutely right, we don't. And we know that omega-3 is very, very important. It has a very important function in terms of our cerebral metabolism, so our brain. It's supposedly protective against Alzheimer's. Anyone who's pregnant or contemplating pregnancy, it's really good in terms of the health of your unborn baby. But it also has a very good cardiovascular protective effect. And if there is there anyone in the audience who suffers from psoriasis, it has a very positive anti-inflammatory effect on your skin. And it's one of the few things that we know in diet that can help skin conditions like psoriasis. So really important to try and make fish your friend. Drink the good stuff. That's not Guinness. It's smoothies, water, all the good things. Get off your arses, as we say in Ireland. Essential to exercise. I was nearly jumping off the seat there listening to Charlie Dark. He is, I think, the ultimate, or maybe the new Mr. Motivator. I don't know. I don't know if the old Mr. Motivator is dead, actually, but anyway, I think you're certainly very, I think he is. And we definitely aren't doing enough exercise, and we know that people who don't do enough exercise are far more likely to die prematurely. It's a really interesting scenario that happens in my surgery all the time. Patient comes in, overweight, blood pressure's a bit high, you need to exercise. Can't exercise, I haven't got the time. Who in this audience hasn't got the time for exercise? Yeah? You too busy? Only one person, everybody else exercises. It's really, really amazing how many people say they haven't physically got the time. And yet, on average, people who average between 25 and 30 watch 22 hours of television per week. Spend an average of 1 hour and 20 minutes a day on Facebook, and Lord knows how much time texting. So it's very, very important to get your priorities right. All we're asking you to do is 30 minutes of exercise every day. That's 2% of your day. That's like a third of the amount of time you're spending on Facebook, and at least probably half the time you're spending in front of the television. So people who say they are too busy, I think you've got to fit it into your day. And I always annoy the hell out of my patients by saying, have you ever heard of a fella called Barack Obama? And they're like, yeah, why? I said, you know Barack Obama goes jogging? You've seen him, surely. He jogs out of the White House. If you were busier than Barack Obama, I take my hat off to you. But otherwise, get up off your asses. Chill out. You seem like a pretty chilled out group, and certainly you're obviously a fit group, and you obviously seem to eat pretty well. I'm getting the gist of it now. Stress is a really, really serious issue in terms of your general health. And if you want to live longer and you want to live happier, then you need to de-stress. There'll be people in the audience who are saying, well, you know, stress, it's good to work under stress, it's good to work under pressure. Pressure and stress are very, very different things. And stress is like a cancer that literally will eat you up and spit you out. It has got so many negative effects on your health. It is unbelievable. So it's vitally important, if you, like 1 in 5 of the British workforce, are feeling stressed or feeling under pressure, you have got to take stock of your life. We now say that, you know, the end of the Industrial Revolution, we got rid of all of these dangerous occupations like sticking people down mines and chimney boys and all this. But actually, we haven't got rid of deadly occupations, because the office is one of the major things that is going to damage your health. So it's really, really important to take stock of your stress and try and eliminate it as best as possible. I'm not saying all go in tomorrow and give up your jobs, but I think you really, really have no idea how much money the British government spends. £30 billion a year on stress-related illness. It is that significant. So at least 1 in 5 of you are stressed, and you don't have to be in an amazing, high-profile, high-powered job. You don't have to be running the stock exchange to be stressed. You can be in the most boring, mundane job, and you can still be stressed. Most common time for Americans to get a heart attack is 9 o'clock on the Monday morning, because they are so stressed. So probably not best to go into work until about 5 past, I think. Embrace the great outdoors. We are like paranoid as doctors about being outside, being out in the sun. You know, 1 episode of sunburn before your age of 20 will double your lifetime risk of skin cancer. But now we've seen that there is another problem. Most of us aren't getting enough daylight. We're not getting enough sun exposure. Do any of you know what happens if you don't get enough sun exposure? And let's face it, with the weather, you've had 3 horrendous summers. Yeah, what happens? Yeah, vitamin D deficiency. How many of you do you think are vitamin D deficient? Oh, some people know already. There's probably about 75% of you are running low on vitamin D now. We've had 3 terrible summers. We haven't seen the daylight that we should have seen, you know, at the end of February, start of March. And vitamin D deficiency it's epidemic in the UK. Symptoms are aches and pains, you feel a bit miserable, you might get a bit of seasonal depression, you get every cough and cold that's going in the office, and you just feel absolutely lousy. That's what happens now. In the future, continued lack of vitamin D, we know, is linked to, the list is endless, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, cancer, multiple sclerosis, depression, joint problems. It is really, really vital that these bright evenings you get out without sun protection factor for about 20 minutes and embrace the light. It's safe to do it so long as your skin isn't reddening, and you will top up your levels of vitamin D, which if you top them up over the summer months, they will carry you through the winter, and I guarantee you, you will be much more healthy when the coughs and cold season comes. Be part of a tribe. Well, you all know the tribe that you can join, not the one that James was trying to join in the Amazon there. the other one. I think it's so important for everyone to be part of a tribe like Run Dem Crew, or any tribe, be that your own running club, your hockey club, etc. Because the tribe that you hang out with will be very, very instrumental in your health. If you hang out with a load of lazy, smoking, drinking, takeaway fanatics, you are going to suffer. If you form part of a group of people who enjoy exercise, embrace the great outdoors, and have a reasonably healthy ethos on living, then you will live longer and you will live happier. There's a place in Japan called Okinawa, I'm not very good at Japanese, where they have the highest proportion of 100-year-olds globally. And this has been the case for decades and decades and decades. And one of the reasons they believe is that the Japanese are heavily involved in their community. And even when you're 99 or 100, they're all still out in the street playing chess, they're playing bowls, they're walking. And researchers firmly believe that it's that sense of the community and that sense of belonging to something that is keeping these people alive. So it's vital, anyone who isn't in some kind of crew or clique or some type of group, it's very, very important because, again, as you mentioned, Charlie, we're all spending our times communicating with people through, we're texting, we know what somebody's doing because we saw it on Facebook. That's a very sad society and it's having a very, very negative impact. You'll be much happier, you'll be much healthier, and if you want to live longer, you will. And finally, everything in moderation. I have a saying which goes, everything in moderation, including moderation. I think life is short, and I think you should indulge yourself occasionally. It's very, very important, though, to also learn how to say no. And there are a couple of tips in terms of what you eat every day on a daily basis and how actually you can just train yourself to eat less and moderate. The French, if you dine with them, will never ask you, would you like more? They always ask you, are you full? And if you're full, you'll say, yeah, I'm full, so you don't get any more. How many of us, when we're full, and someone says, would you like another bit of apple tart? Go, yeah, I'll have some more. So most of us are eating too much. Generally, we should aim to eat until we're about 80% full. There's no need to stuff yourself right up with food. 80% full is the optimum. The second thing is, you should only eat when you're sitting at the table, you're sitting down, and you have your plate full. This business of eating standing up, eating on the hoof, eating in the train, eating on the tube, eating walking up and down the street, only leads to you picking up highly fatty, salty foods, which are bad for you, whereas if you sit down at home and eat a meal that you've prepared yourself, you are much more likely to have a healthier outcome. A very, very good trick, which Sir Alan Sugar has, is that he eats all of his food with a child's knife and fork. And the reason is, and he is quite slim, and the reason is because he eats smaller portions, because he found that he was going out so much and he was eating far in excess of what he actually needed, and he was putting on weight. So everywhere he goes, he brings a child's knife and fork. It's an option. Just two other things in terms of moderation. It's really vital as well. You're all having a nice time tonight. You're all drinking smoothies. You're having your mocktails. Alcohol is another big player in terms of how, if you want to live longer and healthier and happier, too much alcohol is really, really going to cause you problems. So it is vital to try and stick to your units. Sometimes you'll have a blowout. You won't stick to your units. But if you can aim, ladies, to have 2 to 3 units a day, and men no more than 3 or 4, you will have fewer health problems in the future. I'm not talking about cirrhosis. I'm not talking about you all going yellow from liver disease. There are so many other things that alcohol can impact in your body. And we now know, particularly for women, binge drinkers are much more likely to get cancers, particularly breast cancer. So moderation in everything, but do think about alcohol. It's a really, really important. I don't know how many drinkers we have in the room. You're all on the smoothies tonight. You still seem very sociable. Any non-drinkers here? It's probably an easier question to ask. So, most of us also don't know our units, so get a handle on how many units you are drinking, because if you tot it up, it can become quite scary. And finally, in terms of your moderation, I think in terms of all of your lifestyle behaviors, don't go over the top in terms of, I wouldn't advocate crazy excessive exercising. Do what you're able to do. In terms of eating, try and eat healthily. In terms of stress, try and modify that. And in terms of other lifestyle habits, if you are a smoker and you really feel you must smoke, at least try and cut it down. Because we know that those who don't smoke, don't drink, eat their 5 a day and exercise will be around far longer than the rest of us. So take the final note of everything in moderation, including moderation, and I think most of you will live healthy and happy.